catcalling, since we're talking about physical characteristics. I think catcalling is fascinating to discuss because there is a phenomenon that I have observed, where there are people who identify as women or people who are AFAB who feel left out because they haven't been catcalled, because they haven't been objectified.
It's like that whistle, get them like that. I made the whistle earlier. Y'all ain't peep, but just that whistle.
No, I peeped.
Crazy.
But isn't that fascinating?
Yeah.
That being objectified is something that people even desire.
Yeah, you shouldn't. Yeah, no.
It's not that they want to be objectified. It's that they want to be desirable. Or why isn't this something that other people are wanted this way? Why am I
desirable? You know. Yeah.
That has to do. That ties so well into what we're talking about next.
And with that, before we make that transition, it just reminds me of the basketball player and their wife. I won't name drop them unless y'all know who I'm talking about. Of the basketball player's wife expressed that, huh? I don't know.
Oh, I thought you meant Steph Curry.
That's the AM who I'm talking about.
Oh. He has a tattoo of an A on his ring finger because he can't. Oh, that's the wrong hand. He can't play with his wedding ring on, so he has his wife's first initial tattooed on his hand.
That's so dope.
I think it's very cute.
Well, since y'all know, Ayesha Curry, she had expressed that Steph would get a lot of female attention.
Oh, we have to fight. I'd be like Method Man's wife.
And I don't get the reference.
But she can fight. Every time people say he's attractive, they're like, hey, you need to hold up. His wife can fight.
Oh, no. Method Man, he's not that. I mean,
no. He's not that what? Wait a minute. I defend my brother now.
But it's just like...
Shakyra is officially no longer allowed on the Going Deeper podcast.
Exactly.
Oh, no, I'm bad. Okay, well, you can't be on all stages. How about that?
Well, that already makes more sense. Since she wants to propagate misinformation.
Wait a minute. No.
Method Man could get it, and anyone who says otherwise is wrong. But his wife can't fight, so I'll stop here.
I don't know. Method Man?
Yes!
Yeah!
That's my uncle. No.
That's gang for that's a good looking brother right there.
I'm looking up fight. She can fight. It's like a thing that people talk about.
Yeah, I know.
Is she like a fighter or she just can
She just can fight. She got hands.
Okay. There was an incident with Wendy Williams saying that she had
affairs.
She had a one-night stand with Method Man, and his wife said, "For years, I kept my silence while Wendy Williams launched constant verbal attacks against my husband, myself, and our family. In the past, I ignored her lies, innuendos, and blatant attempts to provoke us. But Wendy has proven again and again she is incapable of any decency. In an obvious attempt to increase ratings for her sad biopic, I don't know how to say it, her struggling TV show, and her burnt-out career, Wendy has once again targeted my husband. It is a pattern that she has repeated for years. Yeah, his wife can fight. Don't cross her."
Eat their diss track, man.
I don't even know how we got to this subject.
But the thing I was mentioning with Ayesha, it was to that conversation you already mentioned of she expressed that she would want more male attention because Steph always gets it. So she's wondering. It made her seem like is she less than or does she not look as attractive as Steph?
Yeah,
and that's why it gets so confusing, and that's why there are women who it's so like that's not a feeling that. It's not something you're supposed to say out loud. You're not supposed to say, I want to be objectified, I want to be catcalled. Because the answer there is, what is wrong with you? But it is nevertheless a feeling that still exists.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think, just opinion-wise, I have another opinionated question that I want to ask, but first, do you feel that attention of being flirtatious or catcalling, do you feel it has a necessary spot, or would you just eliminate it in general?
I just feel like when it gets to the point where I'm not feeling safe, that's when it's just like, okay, bro, you're just doing too much.
But then what are the best ways for us to know when you aren't safe? Which, by the way, I'm not asking these questions to pry at you. I feel like once rejection should be a very simple thing of like you mentioned, like the whole him not being your type, like that. Once it gets to that point, it's doing too much. But I'm just asking, what are the parameters of knowing?
In his defense, my type is not someone who wears a shiesty in a laundry room. He wasn't wrong. That's not my if you're doing that, you are not my type. My type is my boyfriend.
Period.
Period, Mike. I just can't, I mean, me personally, I just can't really explain it. I just feel, it's just a feeling like, I don't know, you just have to experience to know it, if that makes sense.
Is it based on attraction?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you've seen that meme of like, what's the first one? I know the other. It's like harassment and the other one. Flirting versus harassment.
Okay,
have you seen that meme?
You look beautiful. HR. Hey, you look beautiful. Oh, thank you.
No, it's just like depends on the tone. Like, if I know, like, if you just being vulgar, like, dang, let me see that, you know, come here, you know, and that's when it's become like, okay, bro, you just doing too much. Versus it's just like, you know, when you just calling me like, hey, beautiful, hey, how you doing, you know, how's your day? I mean, I don't be the type of woman to be like, oh, yo, get away from me when they, you know, come to me on that type of tip or whatever. I just be like, oh, well, thank you, first of all. You're respectful. But
when you say the type of woman, what does that type of woman look like?
The type of woman that, what do you mean?
Like you said, I'm not the type of woman who would have a problem with that.
Oh, you're absolutely right.
I got this advice from, this is not what you did, but I did get advice from somebody once. I'm just going to give you an example of a situation. I had a family member say that somebody looked sketchy, and I said, what does a sketchy person look like to you? Like, dead silence. Or like,
basically, like,
so when you say the type of
about,
woman,
like, earlier, you know, like the aggressive, like the mean type, I guess, like what society like places us in when we reject like people like, you know, ew, you know, get the F away from me and type stuff like that. I'm so sorry. I have to cuss. I'm sorry. That's just
this is why I don't. Again, you know my opinion about it.
But yeah,
he's trying to get us all
that's
fired.
what I mean. You know, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to your point about catcalling, I always ask myself, what is the purpose
of catcalling?
Because personally, that is never going to work on me. Maybe, like, I am the type who would say, like, if you're like, hey, let me talk to you. No. Like, if you approach me and are like,
that's why I said, like, it just depends on for me, it just depends on the tone.
If
like,
I guess it depends
if you're just being
where you are. Like, if we're in a bar and you approach me, if I'm just walking by and you're like,
yeah,
hey, little mama, let me whisper in your ear.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do an impression of it because I realized as I was doing my impression, it might come off and it like.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. So, but all men there are lots of men that catcall. So, yeah. What is the purpose? Are you doing it because you think,
it just makes me uncomfortable
when it is particularly graphic or vulgar? You know that's not going to work. You are intentionally trying to make me feel uncomfortable.
I think if I were to answer from the male perspective, I would think the purpose would be one of two things: either to actually get their attention for a conversation, which, as you've expressed, most of the time it's not going to work. Or they think that woman is so attractive that they have to express it.
Or, third option, they're not doing it for the woman. They're doing it
themselves.
To make themselves look better to other men.
Oh, so basically like brownie points.
Yes!
Like get a brownie
point. Look
at me. I can pull her. Watch this.
I truly think a lot of male behavior towards women is not for their own benefit. It's to make themselves look better in the eyes of other men.
Like, watch this, bro. Watch this. Hey, Mark, come here.
Yes, that's like a perfect example. Or talking about like body counts and stuff. And they talk, I think some men are like, oh, well, women care too much about male validation. You care too much about male validation.
Give me a trigger. Like, why?
That was one of the things we talked about in the very first episode.
Oh, body counts?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, why is that a conversation?
Right, that's so dumb. Unless you are an assassin.
Bro, we grown. We have sex. I'm sorry. I'm just saying. We grown. Yes. I like to have sex.
And that could be a whole other...
I like to drink and I like to have sex.
Shout out, man.
Just getting the checks. No, you've been served.
I really hope your parents don't watch this.
They don't.
So another...
with an uppercut. Call that Captain Hook. Great verse.
Yeah, shout out Megan. But another opinionated question I'd have, it would be around the topic of things being traditionally for women. Like, for example, men painting their nails or men getting belly button piercings or wearing crop tops.
Kind of takes us back to our discussion on identity, and I did. Remember when I said I had a perfect segue?
You did.
Yeah.
All right, take it away for the sake.
Okay, next section. But when you say painting your nails, I think everything that I would feel about that is pretty much what I said when we were talking about physical expressions and how limiting they are to anyone who doesn't identify that way. You are painting your nails is so fun. We have a coworker who paints his nails, and the first time he painted his nails, it looked really good, and I was like, wow. And then the second time he painted it, it looked bad, and I was like, oh, your girlfriend did it for you the first time, because...
Yeah.
But how does the feminine identity relate to men? How can women be defined outside of their relationship to men, or just outside of anyone who doesn't identify as a woman? For example, Women often define themselves as mothers if they have kids more than men with children define themselves as fathers. I have been interested in doing an episode on motherhood as a whole. I think I would want that to be an interview with somebody who is a mother. I mean, I'm mother, but in a different way. Yeah, when we ask ourselves what it means to be a woman, how often does the answer involve the way we are perceived by men, how we exist in relation to men, what men expect from us? So, like, when I think about what it means to be a woman, my answer has nothing to do with men because I'm not talking about men.
Right.
Or, again, people who fall outside of either of those.
Would this section provide the opportunity for me to talk about what I tried to talk about earlier in terms of how would you guys prefer? Okay, cool.
This is we value your input all the time on everything, but I think this is where your input is probably going to be strongest.
Yeah. Okay.
Again, like I said, we value your input.
Yeah, no. Definitely. I would want y'all to take just exactly how this episode is ran. So the question I had earlier, if I can remember how I worded it, just how would you prefer men view you women in terms of internally and now, since we've talked about externally, in terms of what women should do in a household or what traditional values they may have or what they should and shouldn't wear to respect their
I gotta say, it's none of your... No, Ma, I'm just gonna say, it's none of your business.
Honestly,
I mean, no, it's none of your business.
It's interesting because...
But no, seriously.
The way I want, like, men in general to view me versus the way I would want a partner, like a male partner to view me, I strongly disagree, not on a personal level, but with the idea of gender roles, with the exception of if I am on a sinking boat, if any drain has to be snaked. I recently snaked the drain in my apartment, and I wanted to die the entire time. It took me so long. My roommate had to come in and put a nose clip on me. The amount, it hadn't been cleaned in at least 3 years, and we've only lived there for like 9 months. Ugh. I literally came out of that bathroom. I said, everyone who's ever taken a shower in there deserves to die. Yeah. And I vowed, if I do marry a man, I am never.
So you're not going to do the hand
doing that. I'm not ever doing that again. Also, I'm allergic to grass, so I cannot cut the grass.
Yeah. You're allergic to grass?
Yeah. A lot of people.
That reminds me of people, my mom being one of them, who's allergic to dust. That's so unfortunate.
I get hives on the back of my legs if I sit down on grass.
That's so unfortunate. But wait, are you sure that's an allergic reaction or just sensitive skin?
It could be the same thing. Yeah. I'm getting patch testing done at my allergist, but we'll talk about that later.
Oh, okay.
So like I said, if I'm on a sinking boat, women and children first, yes, I'm sorry. I believe in traditional gender roles in that instance. Get me off the boat. I'm not me on the lifeboat being like, feminism. No. Respectfully, no. But, yeah, how I want... This I don't want this to sound like I don't see color, because I don't think that's the same discussion. Mm-hmm. But I would want the way I'm perceived by men to not be any different than the way they see other men. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just so cheesy to say, like, I want you to see me for who I am. Like, because being a woman is a part of my identity. Mm-hmm. I am very strongly a feminist, if you didn't know. But it's not all of my identity.
Exactly.
So, and as somebody who, speculating now as a 21-year-old, a lot of, if not all of the women in my family have been stay-at-home mothers or are stay-at-home mothers. Like, my own mother was a stay-at-home mom for like 10 years. I think that's what I would want if I had children, but obviously that could change. It could vary depending on who I end up with, financial situations, if I am physically able to have children. Mm-hmm. So...
I asked a question just for clarification. Mm-hmm. You said your mom was a stay-at-home mom for 10 years. Did she was she a stay-at-home mom for 10 years and then stopped, like started working? Mm-hmm. That's usually...
She might have gone back to work before then.
I was about to say, I usually hear the reverse, like work and then stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
Versus the reverse. That's the first time.
No, she worked until... I'm talking about when she had children. Kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, she worked, and then she had my older sister, and then she had me 2 years later, and then she had my baby sister 5 years after that. And I think 10 years... Mom, if you're watching this, I'm so sorry if it was not 10 years. I love you. But most of the women in my family have been stay-at-home mothers.
Oh, okay.
And it's very, like, I don't know very many people who are, like, people I knew as children who ever went to daycare.
Yeah, me either.
So.
I think I know like a little bit in my family,
but
it was in dire circumstances.
The ideal situation for me raising a child would be like, it takes a village. You have a community. I have in-laws. I have 2 sisters. Mm-hmm. My parents, not that I would ever expect my parents to raise my children, but that there would be people.
It would be nice to have them help out sometimes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Very random question. Let me hit you up with this. Is it an actual fact that women are statistically smarter than men?
That can't be right. That can't be right.
I've heard it before, but I never.
Yeah, women
live
Shout out
longer.
Vaseline, by the way.
Yeah.
Y'all do?
On average. And I think about that every time I see a man do something stupid. But that cannot be correct that women are smarter than men because intelligence doesn't have anything to do with gender.
Yeah.
That's like, y'all know they play chess in gender segregated leagues? What is the point of that?
Really?
Yeah, what? Why do you have a women's league for chess?
Do you know how to play chess?
Mm-hmm.
I do. I'm not good at it, though. Mike is great at it.
And I really want to play him in chess one day.
He's literally always playing chess. Like, you know that I bet he's cheating on me right now. And then it's like Amanda's something dumb. I trust him, so I don't think that. But like, if he's ever on his phone and I'm like, you're playing chess right now, aren't you? And he'd be like, yeah. So how do you want to be treated by men as a whole, and then also men that you would potentially want to pursue a relationship with?
For me?
Mm-hmm. And there's really no wrong answer here.
Oh, no. I'm just really trying to gather my thoughts. So I won't sound like, an idiot on here. As a whole, I do want to be seen.
Some chess tournaments have a separate category for women.
Can you guys hear me?
I was about to text him to ask you, turn you
Yeah,
up.
I was going to say, can you turn me up a little bit?
Turn it up. Slow songs made for skinny help.
Sorry, I'm not trying to touch the mic. But as a whole, I really do want to be seen as equal because, I don't know, like you said, the whole gender role, to me, sometimes it's just kind of unnecessary. I just feel like if you can do it, I can do it too. Like, just teach me, Teach me how to fix a tire. Teach me how to, I don't know.
Some men trying to teach you how to play spades, but you don't.
All right.
My bad.
I didn't have to put my business out there, though.
If y'all could y'all taught me how to play spades.
Because you wanted to learn.
Yeah. It was fun.
That's not the point.
Right.
That's not the point.
Which, by the way,
that's
to my
point,
girlfriend,
Anthony.
spades is fun.
Anthony, I'm a woman who wanted to learn how to play spades. She's a woman who doesn't. Maybe you need to respect those differences.
You're right. You absolutely.
I mean, it's not that I didn't. I just, they always like catch me at a bad time, But with my partner, again, I want to be treated equal, Yeah. I mean.
When you said, like, why, you said it's not necessary.
Yeah.
Definitely in our modern age.
Yeah.
Like, in an era.
If I can cook, come on, bro. You can cook, too.
Mm-hmm. One of the most life-saving inventions was the invention of baby formula, which is why people who are pretentious about breastfeeding, boo! Fed is fed. If your baby is being fed, no one else needs to say anything about it.
Did you get the joke I just made?
No.
No,
did I say boo when you said boo? Okay, that's good. But
because it's just like, first of all,
baby formula saves lives because not all women can breastfeed.
Exactly.
So, wait, really?
Yeah,
yes,
not anybody. Everybody cannot, lactate.
So wait,
also you don't have to have a young if you read medieval times, like a wet nurse, the queens weren't nursing their own kids. They had women who did it for them.
So, question: if y'all are knowledgeable of this question. Is there a difference between breastfeeding and formula? And if there is, what's the difference?
There is a difference because, like, if we are speaking purely scientifically, formula or breast milk is better for babies, but...
Based on what?
Let me get there.
Oh, I didn't know. I thought, all right.
But there's, you should watch the Adam Ruins Everything video on breastfeeding. It's super informative. The difference is that breast milk can be... Like, there's a lot of differences, and I know this partially from being a nanny, but also because my mom's a dietitian. One, breastfed babies are usually chunkier, and that's just cuter. No, I'm playing. Two, it's not like specifically tailored to the baby, but at the same time it is.
Yeah.
Like if your baby this is a true scientific fact. If
some
your baby
babies
is
are
sick in some way and they breastfeed, it is possible for your body to produce.
Yeah, because some babies are also allergic to formulas too. So, yeah.
One of my cousins was allergic to formula.
Who was it? I think it was my little sister. She was a really bad allergic. Like, she used to get really, gassy, and she used to like throw up and stuff like that a lot.
It has to do with how you feed them. There's like a ton of. There are multiple ways to give a baby a bottle. Some people believe you should keep the nipple half full so the baby can breathe, but other people think you should keep it full so the baby's not getting more air and the baby won't get gassy
and stuff. Yeah.
So, but baby formula is saving lives.
Like it's hard. I don't know.
Baby formula as an example of like ways in which old-timey gender roles, and the idea that gender roles were always a thing in every single civilization ever and were the same way is such a lie. Like, I think Broman has talked about this. The idea that things were worse in the past is not always true. On the whole, maybe. But, like, there were stricter incest laws in Victorian England than there are now. It's legal to marry your first cousin in a lot of states. Because I was watching a TV show. It's called My Big Fat American, and then they use a word that a lot of people now don't use. Usually the term is Romani. Starts with the GSPY. People don't use that term anymore, so I'm not going to use it. But there's a TV show called My Big Fat American Wedding. And there were these two kids getting married, and they were from West Virginia, and they had to go to Virginia because they were first cousins, and first cousins can't get married in West Virginia. But in Victorian England, you had to be, I think, at least fourth cousins to get married. So we had stricter incest laws in England back then than we do now. So the idea that things were always worse in the past is not always true. But in terms of Western society and gender roles in America, modern technology has made a lot of the things that used to be necessary, and again, they really weren't in every case, obsolete. Like,
I never knew that.
Interesting. This actually goes, if we're done with how the feminine identity relates to men, the next topic is feminism. So that really plays into it really well. So feminism, how does feminism play into womanhood, different levels of feminism? For example, the Barbie movie, pause for applause.
Didn't see it, but I haven't seen it yet.
You should watch it. It's a cute movie.
Have you seen it, Tamonte?
No.
Boo.
How coincidental that the two men in here didn't see Barbie.
Lots of men saw Barbie. What's your excuse?
No, that's the point I'm making. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So there is. Sorry, that was my chair. For example, the Barbie movie faced some criticism for being too entry level, like the feminism.
I don't understand it. Like,
what does that even mean?
Let me explain. But it was also radical enough that it was banned in some countries. So America Ferrera, who's the actress, yes, America Ferrera is the actress who plays one of the characters whose name is completely escaping me right now. But oh my god, I can only remember that she's the mom. I'm part of the problem.
Let me see.
Okay, so. This is an article from U.S. Magazine because she said it in an interview with New York Times, but that article was locked behind a paywall. So I'm quoting a quote. I'm terribly sorry. I don't like to do that. This is an article by Molly McGuigan. I hope I'm saying her name.
That's her name.
That's Kira's name. Yeah, I'm hoping I'm saying Molly's name right from U.S. Weekly. Greta Gerwig's Barbie made history last year, wowing audiences with this pink palette and powerful performances while raking in more than $1 billion at the box office. But that success did not come without criticism. As a film with a very clear feminist message, some critics argued that Barbie, particularly the monologue she gives, Gloria America Ferrera, where she's like, you have to be to this, to that, or you're not enough. Like, that made me cry. I saw the movie twice. It made me cry both times. But I know people who didn't have a reaction to that. Like, I have female friends who saw it and they thought, this isn't all that radical. Like, this isn't as deep as you might think it is. And to me, that's a good thing. Because that just proves they were socialized in a way where that didn't surprise them. They're like, of course. But if you weren't socialized in that way, that moment was very touching, especially if you're like me and you cry at everything. Quote, cut to me doing this again. So America Ferrera said this. We can know things and still need to hear them out loud.
I'm sorry. I just put up her monologue.
There you go.
You have to be thin, but not too thin. You can never say you want to be thin. You have to say you want to be healthy, but you also have to say you want to be thin, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
I think it's a beautiful monologue, and she's a very talented actress. So this is what she said. We can know things and still need to hear them out loud. It can be cathartic. There are a lot of people who need Feminism 101. Whole generations of girls who are just coming up now and who don't have the words for the culture that they're being raised in. Also, boys and men who may have never spent time thinking about any feminist theory. So yes, the feminist theory in that movie is very entry level. The stuff she's expressing in terms of feminist theory, in terms of womanhood, like, is not radical. That's kind of something, like, if you
life-changing.
If you've been involved in feminism for a while, those are pretty basic ideas. You're like, yeah. But that doesn't mean it's not necessary.
Yeah. Because I was going to say, like, not a lot of people, understand how feminism work. Mm-hmm. And I just feel like that movie is the start of the conversation, basically. Yes.
Because sometimes when you ask people about feminism, and they're like, well, I like feminism, but I don't like X, Y, and Z. And it's like, I don't think you understand what feminism is. Yeah. Like, I like feminism. What's feminism? Like when you're too feminist.
What's feminism?
The technical definition of feminine.
Okay, yeah, let's get
feminism
the textbook.
is, okay, I've been saying womanhood, femininity, and feminism so much that it's starting to not sound like a word. Okay, so the technical definition of feminism is the advocacy of women's rights on the basis of the equality of the sexes. So speaking of elementary education, oh, not my laptop dying. We gotta wrap it up. So all feminism, is on the surface is belief in the equality of men and women. But it is more than that, because obviously not everybody identifies as a man or a woman. Mm-hmm. So feminism, I think everybody should be a feminist. And if there's a reason that you think you shouldn't be, then you might not understand what feminism is. Like, I've got some feminist stickers here. I try not to be a white feminist because I think white feminism is so damaging, and it's akin to the patriarchy because it's still upholding a certain standard of feminism and what it means to be a woman. Mm-hmm. But I have a lot of Ruth Bader Ginsburg items. And I will say that it's reached a point where people gift them to me. It's not even like I have a t-shirt. Like, one of my favorite gifts I've ever received was from my aunt, who crocheted me a Ruth Bader Ginsburg doll. And I love it with all my heart. When she died, I had multiple people text to ask if I was okay. And no, I was not. She was not a woman without flaws. She definitely should have stepped down sooner. But I find her to be, on the whole, a good role model. Like, I have a quote from her on my laptop that says, I've also got a picture of her here.
Yeah, I see that.
That says, speak your mind even if your voice shakes, which is something that's very important to me as someone who's a very emotional person. Where it's like, just because you might be about to cry when you're angry doesn't mean that what you have to say doesn't have value. Mm-hmm. So, like I said, I think everybody should be a feminist, and I think my idea of what it means to be a woman is tied to feminism. Mm-hmm. Not entirely, but it's tied to feminism. You know what? I have reached a conclusion for myself of what it means to be a woman. Mm-hmm. Feminism, sisterhood, community, compassion, and strength. Put it on a shirt.
We should put it on a shirt, actually.
So what does... And also, I haven't had a lot of experiences in my life where I've been the target of sexism, but I have had some. When I was in high school, people who know me might know this story. I wanted to be fight captain of my drama club, and I mentioned, doing Shakespeare theater in the summers. I have quite a bit of experience with Shakespearean stage combat, and stage combat as a whole. I taught it to children, safely, obviously. But I wanted to be fight captain for the play that we were doing, or the musical, which was Newsies, and there's a couple fight scenes. And I asked if I could be fight captain, and my director, a man, told me that he was going to have another student do it. And I said because he had been... No, this was for Romeo and Juliet. He had had done one fight scene the previous year. And I said, respectfully, I have 7 years of stage combat experience, and he has 1. And he said, well, you're a crew head, because I was head of costumes crew. Mm-hmm. and I was also in the show. And I said, he's a crew head. He's head of set construction, and he's in the show. What's happening?
So why can't
And he was like, well, by the time the show starts, all of set construction's work is done.
It's a lot of well.
Yes.
Well, you're not good enough. That's what he wanted to say.
Well, I eventually got it out of him. Like, he was like, well, set construction, that job is already done by the time that the show is starting and costumes is still active. And I was like, I said, I wouldn't ask for this responsibility if I didn't think I could handle it. And then he said to me, well, other student, just commands a room differently than you do. I challenge you to find anyone who has spent more than 5 minutes with me who will tell you that I don't know how to command a room. I'll wait. I have a lot of flaws. That ain't one of them.
Okay.
And
I'll
the
wait.
student in particular was 6'6" and he had a beard. So that's what he meant by that. So like I said, that's one of the experiences that sticks out to me when I think of targets of sexism.
That's valid.
But that was sexism.
Yeah. Because he wanted to say that, but he just didn't want to be like, oh,
I was furious. And so was my dad, actually. Do you have any experiences that come to mind?
Sexism?
I'm waving to DeMonte not to.
Not that I can think of on the top of my head. I mean, it probably, a lot of things happened to me, but, I was too young to understand them. And it probably just flew right over my head.
There's also sexist microaggressions. This is a thing that happens quite frequently in corporate spaces. Even if the woman in the room is on par with men, they will still ask her to take notes during a meeting and not one of the men. Take notes yourself, Greg. That's just a random name. I don't know a Greg. Yeah. Can you think of ways that feminism has benefited you? Even if it's not your own active feminism.
Well, I'm here today. Can we start there? I mean, I'm just saying, like, years ago, I mean, not even that long ago, we couldn't be in places, where most people can be, I mean, it's just like the surface level, honestly. And that's just really what I'm grateful for, so.
Yeah, I can think of so many ways that feminism has benefited me, particularly in relationships I've developed with other women.
Can we talk about, like, the equal pay of the workspace, though? You was going to say that?
I literally was just thinking about the wage gap.
No, because I noticed that has been, like, a lot of, like, conversations about that lately, so.
Well, for some things to talk about when talking about the wage gap. Oh my God, did you see the tweet that said, gender reveal, it's a piggy bank. If you smash it open and it's a boy, it's $1. And if it's 75 cents, it's a woman or a girl. Well, because you know how people do gender reveals when they're pregnant?
Yeah. How do you feel about that?
I think gender reveals are cute. I don't think they should be their own party. That doesn't need to be separate from the baby shower.
Me personally, I won't have them.
It could be... that can be an activity in the baby shower. You don't need to have a gender reveal party and a baby shower.
Right.
2, it can be...
Now you're just being greedy.
We did this for my choir teacher, because she was pregnant. It was just like we opened a box and there were balloons. Like, it can be small. You don't need to be destroying the climate for a gender reveal.
The smoke's in the air.
There's a couple things I don't like about it.
I mean, sorry.
I don't like about it. There is a real feeling that maybe the baby isn't the gender that you, or the sex, that you might have hoped for.
Yeah.
And that can be a valid feeling. Don't get me wrong. If you have, like, 4 daughters and you might want a son, like, you are not a terrible, wrong, awful person, mother or father, for wanting that. Sometimes, seeing a man get really upset.
It just be the reactions.
But is that really a reaction you want taped? And is that really a reaction you want to have in front of
imagine your child looking at it. I would be like, dang, they didn't want me for real.
I don't want... It's also a new phenomenon. Like, my parents didn't have it. My parents didn't find out for all 3 of us. And I have 2 sisters. So, I don't... Personally, I wouldn't want a gender reveal because I don't want it to influence what people buy me.
Yeah.
What are you buying for a baby girl that you're not buying for a baby boy? Mm-hmm. And also...
I think that's why more people is not having baby showers, too. Like, they'd just rather buy it themselves.
Also... I don't know that the assigned sex at birth of my child is going to align with the identity they construct for themselves in the future.
And right, exactly.
So if I'm like, oh, it's a girl. I'm so ecstatic because I do want Eloise.
And then it just
I do want Eloise Fromm Jr. But
it's just like, how do you know?
How do I know that
she
doesn't want to be Elliot Fromm Jr.?
Exactly.
Yeah. Or he in that case, or whatever name or pronouns that my child. I would love them regardless.
I'm gonna just tell them, listen, if I ever do decide to have kids, I'm gonna just tell my family, listen, it's a child. There we go, a child.
A baby is a baby.
I'm just asking, like, what do you think?
Truly, the difference is, are you gonna pee on me while I'm changing your diaper or not? And that's
I got peed on once by my baby brother. It was terrible.
It's happened to me with baby girls too. It just doesn't go everywhere.
Yeah, of course.
So I wouldn't want the gifts that people buy me, and I wouldn't want the ways that they treat my child to be any different. Like, I'm trying to think of the best way to say this. I, for the most part, wouldn't change much about my childhood. I'm very grateful to my parents, but I do wish that I hadn't been necessarily so strongly socialized in a feminine manner. Like, we bought the toys that we wanted. My parents never said, you can't play with this. We wanted dolls. We wanted things. But I had two sisters.
Oh, my gosh. I'm sorry. I am not mean to put my grandfather on blast. But the whole toy situation you just said, my granddad, he had this whole ideology of, like, little girls shouldn't play with baby dolls and stuff like that because it encouraged them to wanting to be a mother at a young age. Have you heard of that before?
Well, that's the origin of Barbie. Well, because it was only, like, if you, the opening scene that references.
But I hate when he said that because it's just like, it's just a freaking baby doll. Like, come on now.
I think everybody should be encouraged to play with baby dolls. I don't think it should be just girls.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. But we chose the toys we wanted, but I have two sisters, so I remember, like, there's a lot of movies I never saw as a kid. I didn't watch Toy Story. I never saw Cars because
Toy Story is a really good movie.
They were like boy movies, quote unquote.
Toy Story? Really?
I never saw it as a kid.
Huh.
Or if I did, I don't remember. My parents watching this be like, girl, we put that on. But, like, I've seen most Disney princess movies. I love Disney princess movies. I didn't really understand this until I was a bit older, and this is a topic for another time. But, like, we had
Who's your favorite Disney princess, if you have one?
I have a couple.
I know.
Okay, like, visually, like, the animation and the music, my favorite is Sleeping Beauty, but she has 18 minutes of screen time.
That's true.
But I love it. I think it looks so pretty. I like the music in, I really love the message in Princess and the Frog about, like, because it, to me, is kind of similar to the message in the Disney movie Soul, which is your life does not exist because you have some grand purpose or some skill or some talent or some dream of opening your own restaurant. Your life has meaning simply because it does. So when her dad was like, when she's like, Daddy never had his dream, and the mom's like, yes, he did. He had us. I think that's a really, really beautiful message. And the music in that movie, incredible.
Well, going back, I'm sorry. We gotta watch Toy Story because that's a good movie.
I've seen it.
Oh, you seen it already?
I've seen it.
You seen all of them?
I haven't seen the most recent one because I don't want
sorry.
to, and I'm not going to.
I'm a film head, so of course I'm going to like yap about movies.
What's the one with the bear and they're holding hands going into the
Toy Story 3.
Toy Story 3 is one of the best movies ever made, truly.
Yeah.
So,
but
circling back to the wage gap. Anthony. How do you feel about the movies? I'm sorry, we just been yapping. No. How do you feel about, like, do you have a sister, yeah? Mm-hmm. What kinds of movies did you watch growing up, and how do you think they impacted gender socialization for you?
We watched mostly the same movies, but if it was more aimed to a woman's audience or female audience, then I wasn't allowed or I wasn't preferred to watch it. Like, I was just telling my girlfriend last night that I wasn't allowed to really watch SpongeBob because they felt he was gay.
He was what?
He gay? Was gay. A sponge. And
see this,
like
I can see if you lost your girl to a real
like T.I.
Like, hey, but Usher?
But Usher, I know if you're gonna say the whole quote, but and then
I was gonna say the whole quote.
But no, I'm not messing with you this time. But who was in Paris?
Yeah, who was in Paris?
Beyonce's husband and an anti-Semite. Next question.
She
ate that.
She ate and yeah, it was even bad to where my cousin, like, he would get disciplined physically if he were to watch SpongeBob. So just
I'm
to
against physical discipline on the whole.
Me too. It never. I don't know.
It doesn't. No, you do know. It's been scientifically proven to not be effective multiple times.
Because guess what? I mean, I'm sorry. This is like a whole different conversation.
Welcome to the Going Deeper podcast. That's why
it's
we're
just
here.
Like if you constantly keep hitting on the child, they're gonna keep doing whatever because they're gonna be accustomed to it.
It's cyclical. I've seen. If you've ever watched the TV show Super Nanny, she'll be like, "What?" She'll be like, "That show is so good. I love her. I still follow her on Instagram." She says like. I'm not doing her accent, although I could. But she says, like, why do you like think it's okay to hit your children? And then a parent will say, well, my dad hit me, and then she goes, and what's your relationship like with your father?
Exactly.
And then it's
exactly.
So it's also like I said, it's just not effective. It's been scientifically proven. SpongeBob because he was gay.
It don't make sense.
I mean, to be fair, he never had hoes, but.
Because he was a sponge, of course he wouldn't have a hose.
Right.
Well, no. Some people in that show had relationships.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, no. I thought that was a free one.
Listen.
It's like 9 p.m. Like,
it's been a long day.
Yeah.
It is literally
it's
9
10 o'clock.
It's
10 o'clock. Come on now.
And we're recording tomorrow.
Listen, back to back. Shout out Drake. Or shout out Drake, depending on the context.
Let's not shout out Drake, actually.
Yeah, that's why. But his music. Shout out the artist.
You know how embarrassing it is to have a boyfriend who has Drake in his Spotify Wrapped? Fighting for my life in the group chat.
Music-wise. Culture boyfriend.
I don't
know. Yeah, for the most part, like, we both watched Shrek or...
I love Shrek.
I love Shrek.
Shrek 2 is coming out again.
Pixar and / DreamWorks will always be better than Disney.
Go. Yeah.
I saw Coco is one of the best
opinions
ones
of the
ever
state
made.
news are the opinions of Elle Fromm are only Elle Fromm.
For the most part. The opinions of Elle Fromm are...
Because you said Pixar better than Disney, and that's why. Because I disagree with you, that's why I was... Disney.
Animated children's movies only. Pixar is much better than Disney.
I mean, who got Princess and the Frog? Who got Lion King?
Yeah, but the...
who got the Incredibles?
Who got Mulan?
Who got the Incredibles?
Who has Toy Story? Who has Coco?
Who has Monster Inc?
That's Pixar?
Yes.
I don't even know what that is.
You don't know what Monsters Inc. is?
Oh, I thought you said Mustard Inc.
Dog.
Well, it's been real, you guys.
It's too late. Monster
Inc.
I couldn't watch
Monster Incorporated.
I couldn't watch Monsters Inc. because I'm scared of anything with more than 2 eyes.
Oh, that's fair.
I couldn't even watch Monsters University because that little guy, Squishy, the one who's not supposed to be scary, I was scared of him.
That's fair.
I'm scared of things with more than 2 eyes. Also cicadas, because my older sister used to pluck their shells off of trees and put them in my hair. Speaking of my older sister, I tell you, she recently told me about a new development in her romantic relationship, and then she went, I love you, or like hanging up the phone, like after telling me about it, she goes, okay, don't talk about this on your podcast. Love you, bye.
No way. But yeah.
SpongeBob is, because he was gay?
It don't make sense.
But it's just like,
I knew people who weren't allowed to watch SpongeBob because it's like the show's called Bikini, like they live in Bikini Bottom and they thought it wasn't appropriate.
Yeah.
I never
heard of that, but you know, I
specifically.
just thought about it's because sexual jokes throughout the show and stuff like that. Yeah.
I never even heard that one either.
Really?
Now, when I was talking to my girlfriend about this, she was like, I mean, I've heard people not wanting their kids to watch SpongeBob because it's dumb. And I'm like, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
But, I mean, either it's a sponge. Like, my opinion, it was similar to, I think one of us said it earlier of, like, because we and her ended up getting in a conversation of, like, how do I want to preface it? Of, like, when you hear people say if they play certain games, they go act a certain way. And I
have mixed feelings about that, but yeah.
I strongly, and I'll put one more, strongly disagree with that notion. But it got to the point of, like, that conversation of, like, SpongeBob, for example, and, like, if, like, gay characters are in shows or whatever. And we both came to the conclusion of, like, it's gonna be similar to what we talked about. It's gonna be in the real world anyway. So to shun your kid away from it, you're kind of actually hurting them because they're not gonna know once they see it.
They're gonna be confused.
Nickelodeon, to bring it back to Legend of Korra, the reason that they didn't make Korrasami canon in the last episode, and despite the fact that they never kissed, literally the last episode of Legend of Korra is just Asami and Korra holding hands, stepping into the spirit portal. There is nothing gay about that. But that episode wasn't even aired on television.
You know what?
They aired it online. Because they were so scared.
Let's lock fingers.
They were so scared that 2 women holding hands was going to make everybody watching a lesbian. Wait, actually, technically Asami and Cora, nailed it, are both bi, so just sapphic. But
like us, we are both bi too.
We are.
There's a running joke I have ever since the conversation I had with the people who were had the negative opinion.
You have really soft hands.
Oh, thank you.
Of my belly button piercing. There's now a running joke I do where like every time I lift my shirt, like gay, like get, because it's not that deep. But on the Going Deeper podcast, we talk about these things.
Yeah,
because I said deeper. But
we got it, Anthony.
Okay, cool. When there's silence, I'll be like, okay, either they didn't get the joke or it wasn't funny. So I never know the difference.
Option 3, it's late.
Option 3, but have we hit everything?
One final thing was just going to be, how does our ideas of femininity and womanhood relate to relate to love and sex? Because even though we don't construct the feminine identity in relation to men, if those of us who identify as women who choose to date people who identify as men, it does affect our the partners we choose. If you have a certain expectation of what it means to be a woman and the potential role you might want to fill within a couple. Again, not everybody wants to get married, not everybody wants to have children, not everybody wants that life, and that's totally acceptable and fine. But since this is a usually romantic love and sex podcast,
I'm anti-romance. Sorry.
Why are you here then?
Y'all invited me here. I'm just kidding.
Since, yeah, like if your idea of womanhood and femininity is such that, I'm trying to think of the best way to say this. Like, you want more traditional gender roles, it's going to impact the partner you choose. So, like, for me, somebody whose identity is or someone whose definition of being a woman is related to feminism, I could never be with somebody who wasn't a feminist. Who weren't a feminist?
Who's not, or...
Was whatever. Becomes were in the hypothetical sense, like Beyonce says, if I were a boy.
Do you like that song? I love that song.
I love that song.
Oh, have you heard of Sierra Like a Boy?
Yes. Did you see that women's dance team doing the performance of it after their... Oh, I'll show you later. Pull up your pants, just like a...
Is that in your playlist?
Yes, and it comes right before Lizzo's Like a Girl.
Nice. But
yeah. Up, feeling like I just might... president.
I don't listen to
the topic the title for today's episode is I Am Woman, Hear Me Roar, like the Helen Reddy song. The number's too big to ignore, and I know too much to
I don't
go.
Know that.
Really?
I don't either, but hey, I'm a jam with you.
You should send it to me.
I shall.
Yeah.
So, how do our ideas of femininity relate to love and sex? Because I believe in equality of the sexes, which is why I was... You know what? No, I can say something very graphic. This is a love and sex podcast. Don't date people who don't care about making you orgasm.
Please don't. Oh my.
Like, I'm not talking about a one-time thing, a first-time thing.
I'm sorry, you just brought back, like, war.
Oh, whoa. My gosh. I'm not talking about,
I'm sorry, no. I mean, I'm just being real.
Yeah, no, as you should be. Like, I'm not talking about a one-time instance. I'm talking about somebody who does not care about your pleasure.
Yeah.
Does not care just basically about that equality.
A jerk. Like, they just only care about themselves. Like,
do you ever think about how many fewer people would be on the planet if the female orgasm were necessary for procreation?
Yeah. Unfortunate. Well, yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, just to piggyback off of that, I would go as far as to say that's a bad person. If you like a person who doesn't care about their partners or women's orgasm or just their bodies in general when doing sexual things, I would go as far as to say that's a bad person. I hopefully don't gotta explain, but
if that's like if there are people who are asexual who engage in sex for the benefit of their partner,
yeah, not counting.
If it's important to the woman or the
person.
Assigned
female at birth. Yes. Make it a priority.
Ladies
first has many meanings.
Exactly.
So,
I think
we did it. Happy Women's History Month. I love being a woman. Happy Women's History Month.
Even though the period sucks, but
not every woman has a period.
You're right.
Like that's not even a cisgender thing.
Yeah.
Like periods are just.
Well, I was just talking about myself.
post-puberty, pre-menopausal cisgender women with regular menstrual cycles makes up a way smaller percentage of those who identify as women than you might think. No, but that's real, though. Mm-hmm. Ever since I've been going to pelvic floor therapy, I've had more regular periods, and I'm curious about it. I'm like, is this really worth it? I'll tell you guys about my pelvic floor therapy journey later. But, happy Women's History Month.
Happy Women's History Month.
Happy belated International Women's Day.
2 in a row, girls, as what Beyonce said.
Let's think about all the women in places of the world who are subjected to, very cruel standards, who cannot get the help they deserve. Places like the occupied territories of Palestine, Sudan, the Congo, worldwide. Problems like femicide, which are a problem everywhere, but Mexico, India, to name a few.
The Red Dress Project?
Yes, check out the article. Was that Alex?
No, it was Emilio.
It was Emilio.
Emilio, check out that article.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
And real quick, I want to do a couple things. The second one won't really even relate to anything. But the first thing, I want to say for assigned men at birth or people who identify as men, to try your best to be more caring about these type of conversations, because it's unfortunate the amount of men I can think of in my life who wouldn't care that it's Women's History Month or don't care about certain things or how they speak to certain women, especially unfortunately certain black men. So just as a kind of like a PSA or just like a request to the men who will watch this, just care more. Because it goes a long way.
And thank you for having this discussion with us.
I just wanted to do the best I can.
All it takes us is the first step as a conversation,
Actually. And the thing that doesn't even relate to this conversation, Shakyra, could you give a shout out to your shirt and like what it means? Because I just find it really cool.
Oh, it's autism awareness,
Does it say love needs no words? Yep. That's cute. I just saw an ad today from a woman with Down syndrome.
Autism Awareness Month. When is that?
I don't know. And be sure to support organizations that actually have autistic people on their board of directors and center autistic voices and not people
it's
who
next
view
month.
Autism poorly. Keep that in mind. Because not every organization that claims to exist for the benefit of autistic people actually has autistic people on their board. And even, I have mixed feelings on person first language, but bear in mind that the idea of person first language, or saying person with autism rather than autistic person, did not come from an autistic person. It came from parents of autistic people who have a desire to separate the disease from their child. So, Women's History Month. Shout out to all the autistic women out there.
Yeah.
Anthony, you want to do our outro?
Oh, can I just say thank you for inviting me?
Oh my God, thank you
for
coming.
Yeah.
We love you.
I love y'all too, sometimes. No, I'm just kidding.
Sometimes it's great.
I'm just kidding.
And the fact that you said Method Man wasn't hot.
Wait a minute, I didn't say he was not, but I'm just saying, like, the whole, I don't get the hype. Like, why? I mean, I don't know. Like,
that's like me with Timothée Chalamet. I just don't get it.
Yeah, like, or Michael B. Jordan. I'm sorry.
And with that being said, we're always gonna take a deep dive.
Maybe I am a lesbian. Maybe I don't even like men.
We're always gonna take a deep dive, but sometimes it's good to come up for air.
This has been the Going Deeper podcast.
Thank you, and pretend like she didn't say that.
Pretend she didn't say that.